Yeah, okay, we go. Shh. All right, we are live. Just in
There we
time.
go.
A little bit of healthy stress. Just in time, only 1 week too late.
It's
Yeah,
all about just showing up to the end, right?
yeah, we used to have this always on the last Thursday of the month, but this last Thursday of the month was just not visible because of travel. But we're here the first week of the month, still on Thursday, 4 o'clock Paris time. Well, Daniel, how are you?
Yeah, I guess we got a couple. Pretty good. I guess we have a couple extra topics that we can cover with that extra day, so it will be kind of a fun one here.
Yeah. Yeah, we just
You doing?
we cannot make it too much because we're already at 1 hour and a half for 30 days of content. So if we skip 1 month, probably we're gonna have to stream a whole day. We can do a threat researchers marathon, maybe 24-hour streaming.
We can play the movie Sneakers and Hackers, and it'll be great.
Yeah, get banned from YouTube,
And that would not be fun though.
but that's
I
okay.
happen to enjoy YouTube.
It's only the corporate account. We can make another account for us.
Let's try not to get the corporate account banned.
Yeah. So what's new for the people who have been following us on LinkedIn and also on our Telegram or on Twitter? We have a newsletter that's created by Daniel mostly, especially the first edition was created completely by Daniel. And it went live last week. So in the newsletter, you will find pretty much all the topics that we talk about during Threat Researchers Live, but also more. So just a curated collection of links and a small description why it is important for you and why you might be interested. And also important, a list of other newsletters that are out there that we are following closely also for ourselves to keep up to date with what's happening. So if you have the time and you're interested and you want to follow up on what's happening in the threat landscape, just subscribe to the newsletter. It's easy to get access. There's a tiny URL that I put in here. I will also, yeah, there is a link already in the description below, so you can find it there. Or you go to the Twitter, to the Redware Research Twitter, and there you will find also a link to the newsletter. That said, our famous disclaimer.
Always got to have it.
Yeah, leave it up there so that YouTube can register it. And then the algorithm will stop right here, and now we can talk freely. Oh, that was a joke. I don't think the algorithm stops. So what we have
Never does.
for you today, yeah. So pretty much the same as every month. I think that we just continue on the same pace that we have been going for 2022, which is a crazy pace in terms of events that are happening in security. But we're gonna talk about the cyber legions, what happened over there, IT Army, Killnet, some drama in Killnet, yeah, as we used to see from
Just a little bit.
Hacktivists. So we're gonna talk about Hacktivists in general, nation states, of course. We're gonna talk about. I believe Daniel will also cover the most recent DDoS attacks linked to the Pelosi files, or better the visit Nancy in Taiwan. All right. Then we're gonna talk about botnet.
She's gone now, but
yeah, now she's gone. So still alive. Good news. So botnets, we're gonna discuss outages, going rogue, and raids and seizures. And yeah, I forgot to add, there's a couple of vulnerabilities also at the end, as usual. Some supply chain attacks, some open source software supply chain. The typical node packet manager that always gets a fixed seat in our session. There's again a couple of packages that were using typo squatting that were exploited. But we'll start with the legions. Daniel.
Yeah, this one was kind of interesting. Killnet has gone through a kind of a series of evolution over the last like 30 days. So, at the beginning of the month, they were talking about they want to basically continue escalating against those that support Ukraine. And so, what we're seeing very notable DDoS attacks that were targeting Latvia. Latvia, I believe, said this was the largest DDoS attack that they had in their country's history, which record attacks on different levels is very popular right now. Norwegian businesses also were targeted by DDoS attacks from Killnet. And then here in the United States, our congressional website was also targeted by Killnet, which is kind of interesting. It shows that Killnet's not really interested in targeting Ukrainian targets. They're really about going after the supporters. So like one of the things that we can look at on the next slide.
Yeah, before you go there, these attacks were also covered in the last Threat Researchers Live. We had more detail on the Latvia and the Norwegian attacks, if I'm not mistaken. It was not only out of support, it's also the Norwegian authorities were blocking a supply of food to some mine workers who were in a peninsula somewhere close to Norway. There's some mining district that was also Russian, and the same for Latvia. There's how it's called again. I forgot the name of that small part of Russia that's there next to Latvia, but they also blocked or put some sanctions on import and export from that area because everything has to go through Latvia to go to that area. So, but we have it in the previous one. So if you look up the links at the end of that presentation, you will see that we just added them because yeah, they happened in the same week. Was like hot off the presses.
Yeah, I mean, Killnet's also been like generating a lot of attention. They've been very public through their Twitter and or Twitter presence, I guess, and also through Telegram. More or less, what they say on Telegram makes it the way to Twitter. But this was an interesting piece of research that Zero BS had put out, basically showing the evolution of Killnet between May and July, and just showing that they were advancing from basically a basic level to more of an advanced level. That kind of comes true with some of the claims and statements that Killnet has made in the last probably like 7 to 10 days. So Killnet has gone out and claimed that they're going to start changing their TTPs. So they put out this little comment onto their Telegram channel saying that they're no longer interested in targeting dozens of websites at a time, which just makes sense from an attacker's perspective. If you have limited resources or you don't want to expose your botnet to have resources taken away, you don't want to go just target anybody and everybody. You want to use your resources in a very smart way. But they are moving towards targeting one and everyone falls. So this is kind of like implying supply chain type of denial of service attacks, things that have a cascading effect. Another interesting thing about it is Killnet, Killmilk. I guess we'll get into that in a few
we're
other
gonna come.
slides.
Yeah, in a few slides we have that as well.
Anyways, the threat actor has been making a lot of claims about targeting Lockheed Martin in the future. It's kind of interesting seeing how active this group has been in the last 30 days as far as like vocalizing their intent on their alignments.
Yeah, the change in TTP comes at a moment that they also change the head figure of or better the leader of their little gang, which makes sense if we will come back to it in a second. But yeah, there were those alleged attacks on Lockheed Martin, so they announced it and effectively so. But we have to say that the sources are pro-Russian government sources. So there's an outlet live.ru that reported that the attack against Lockheed Martin by Killnet and also Killmilk, which was the leader at that moment, still is. I don't know if he already out or not, but so Killmilk was the leader of Killnet. And on August 1, the attack apparently would have started at 7 a.m. local time in Russia, I assume. So that would be like 1 a.m. Central Time, something like that, right? No, it's or midnight or before midnight.
Somewhere.
Yeah. And the reason behind the attacks on Lockheed Martin, so maybe it's also interesting to know why they were targeting Lockheed Martin, because they just not chose it because they're a defense contractor, but it's also because of the HIMARS rocket system that was supplied to Ukraine by the US. So and they are being used, and I read somewhere that that they were being used to blow up that bridge that makes the connection somewhere between two important regions, and that now they used that Ukraine actually used HIMARS with success, and that they were able to isolate part of the Russian troops in their that they might fight back. So this might be a turning point in the war, according to Ukraine. So it's a very important system. So that's
It could
why
also
they,
be.
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think there's actually a weird delay. I was gonna say like that. That's also, as you said, a turning point where things could actually begin escalating as well. Now that Ukraine's getting the upper hand, they are actually starting to target Russians or Russian targets inside Russian territory. So
Mhm.
a little bit of a pushback.
Yeah. So and then while this was happening, so the also on that was on the Russian state-owned Russia One TV, where a Russian military expert said that the nation state hackers were able to get into the HIMARS system, and that they hacked the HIMARS system to stop them from operating on the Ukrainian battlefield, which does not match up with the fact that Ukraine used it to blow up the bridge, because the blowing up of the bridge, at least in the sequence of the news arriving here, was after that this message was posted. So, but he made some pretty heavy claims there. He said that the American system has been hacked, and that their secret development will be deployed in all directions. I think that he's talking about another missile development. So he says it's a good system. Can't name it yet, but it works at much greater distances. Let's hope it's more accurate than the ones they're using today, even though it comes at greater distances. But so yeah, we will have to see. And for the Americans, he said this will be a very unpleasant surprise. So those are things that we typically not go into, is the physical warfare, but the two are clearly linked. This is more of a propaganda message. I would think, I'm not sure if there's any attacks on Lockheed Martin. Probably there are. If they were successful, that's another question. And actually, the Killnet did not say that it was successful. The article in live.ru said that the attack started at 7 a.m. They did not say that it was successful, right?
Right.
And they did not say what kind of an attack. Because yeah, they now go after breaches. They try to breach and get data instead of performing DDoS. So like Daniel said, their TTPs have changed. And that change of TCP actually comes with the announcement by the founder and leader of Killnet, who goes by the alias Killmilk. So he said that he will leave after the upcoming hack and leak operation against Lockheed Martin. So as that is underway, it's probably, so that was August 1. So by now probably that attack will have finished, and he will have left Killnet.
I mean, this guy's been so dramatic. I'm sure he's probably gonna have an exit note at some point.
Well,
Doesn't want to leave the main spotlight.
yeah. Oh yeah, but he already has his own Telegram. So on the Killnet Telegram, he announced it with his own Telegram. So when you subscribe to his Telegram, he's pretty much copying, and vice versa. Killnet pretty much forwarding all the messages that come on Killmilk. So Killmilk is also the name of his Telegram. Now he also announced that the new leader will be BlackSide. So there's a new person stepping in, BlackSide, who is supposedly an administrator of an underground cyber criminal forum that's hosted on the darknet. And a analyst who prefers to be kept anonymous said in the press that BlackSide, in the context of ransomware, is probably a connotation between Black Matter and DarkSide. So the two ransomware groups who have been pretty active, and also had a lot of drama behind them in the last couple of months. So yeah, Black Matter,
Yeah.
Dark Side. Yeah, I can see the association. I'm just not sure if the name is enough to tie him to both those ransomware. But if that is the case, that would also explain why the TTPs might be changing, because moving from DDoS to more kind of wiper and ransomware attacks, well, yeah, that sits well if that guy effectively comes from a ransomware group. So intrusions and leaks is pretty much what ransomware does.
Hmm. Other news related to the Russian-Ukrainian war, Network Battalion 65 and B65, which is a group of pro-Ukrainian hacktivists, recently announced that they're going dark, but it was kind of interesting. Apparently there was some kind of beef. They're tweeting very angrily one day, and then the next day they said that they're going dark. So a lot of speculation about what might have happened, but once again, it's another group that's kind of leaving the threat landscape, which is becoming a very common thing at the moment. I mean, yes, there are a lot of threat groups that we'll get to in a minute that are out there involved in this conflict, but it seems like they're kind of cycling out. And that's also another thing that we'll get to, is why they might be cycling out. But you know, as the war goes on, some people just don't have the time, the energy, the patience, the resources to continue. So some of these campaigns are very short-lived by hacktivists. Others are very long-term. Another long-term hacktivist group out there would be the IT Army, and so recently they announced, nope, the wrong way.
I'm trying to
um,
I'm trying to scroll the right way. Yeah, got it.
back one more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there we go. So this was kind of an interesting thing. It's IT Army, which a lot of people want to say are hacktivists, patriotic hacktivists, but they're definitely government sponsored. It's kind of debatable of how controlling the government and the intelligence agency is over IT
Well, yeah,
Army.
they are spun out of the government, so it's the government who created it. So pretty much you can say that this is the one group that we know for sure that is linked to the government in some way.
Which is very interesting, right? Like we've
Yeah.
never really actually had attribution as far as saying like this hacktivist, patriotic hacktivist group is created by the government. Like a lot of people used to speculate back in the day that government agencies were involved in controlling anonymous operations, which was very likely true.
Well, they're
But in this
probably feeding their
situation,
information in, right? So it's more of a psyops operation. They let them troll as much as you want because if you go on their Telegram, we went there and it's full of trolls. There's not a single government official that is talking on that Telegram chat channel. However, the posts sometimes come from Michele. It's Michele or Mikolai, who started
yeah,
this channel, so the vice president of Ukraine. And yeah, most probably in the background you have the defense agencies or the special operations that will be monitoring what's happening and feeding the sites and which sites to attack. It's probably pretty much regulated by the government, I would think.
yeah. And I think that's where the community is at the moment, is understanding, accepting that this is likely controlled by intelligence, but you know, it's not 100% attributed, right? So like they're doing a really good job of staying away from it, but we do know that it was created by the government. So those dots are definitely there and they are connecting. I kind of hope that more research goes into the control of the IT Army by intelligence. What was his name? Stefano over at CZZ in Switzerland.
Yeah.
He's been doing some great research into the group as far as who may or may not be controlling day-to-day operations. But anyways, to the Telegram channel, the IT Army recently announced that they actually launched a DDoS attack as a smokescreen attack, which is kind of interesting, right? Like this is showing escalation. This is showing using different tactics for DDoS attacks, right? So like generally the DDoS attacks are just there to disrupt a network, to say that they knock something down, to impact someone's life. But when you actually run a DDoS as a smokescreen, you're exfiltrating data from
Yeah.
an actual hacking campaign, which is kind of interesting. It will be a little weird to see if the IT Army evolves into actually leveraging exploits and stepping up as far as nation state hacking groups are known to do.
Yeah, we already discussed that also in the last episode where we were telling that they saw that their DDoS attack had very little impact, the ones that they did until then, which is why that they started orchestrating and building new tools to be able to orchestrate the attacks so that they're better synchronized over time and that they have more impact. So we see them getting more, not more sophisticated, but better organized and more targeted to hit Russia where it really hurts, instead of just doing random DDoS activity, which is just spread over time. It's just a bunch of packets with little impact. There have been some attacks that
Yeah, and
had
I
an
also think,
impact. That conference where Putin's speech was delayed for 2 hours, and the ticketing systems were not working. So there were some successful attacks, but those were synchronized in time because that conference everybody knew it will start at that time. If they just pick out a website and say, "Hey, today we're gonna attack this website," and then people start to attack, but somebody wakes up at 8, the other wakes up at 10, another one sits in another time zone that's 12 hours difference. So all the attacks is just spread over time, and the impact is not optimized. So they already went to you leveraging volunteered botnets to perform those attacks, changing
yeah, and a
TTPs.
couple other things like inside the IT army, the creators of certain tools, like the creator of a Disbalancer, has actually come out and said that he's lost about 50% of their users. So, saying that there's main peak in the first quarter, but in the second quarter they've seen less people sitting around all day launching attacks against Russia, which you know, kind of feeds into like why NB65 might be leaving and other people coming in, coming out. You know, just rotating in and out of the cyber conflict is
Yeah, but it's also a little bit
definitely.
human nature. People are losing interest, you know. It's like
Yeah.
it just happened. Everybody's fired up. Let's go, let's go. Very little information is going around. Influencers are gathering people, telling them to join that movement, and then yeah, then the real information comes a little bit later that actually, yeah, you're not only attacking propaganda, you're also impacting other websites like pharmacies, and it's not only about the propaganda, there's more things that are happening there, and people start to cool off on this. So it's also human nature to lose interest and go for the next event, I would guess. We also see that in the
Yeah,
news.
which we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a next
So
event.
there's a
Yeah.
really good article. What's that?
Yeah, we already have the
Sorry,
next event. Yeah, sorry. No.
So a really good article put out by Motherboard here covered like the inside of the IT army, which most of us already know, but it produced some really good little pieces from a couple different researchers and people involved in the war, which I think kind of like sets the precedent of what we might expect in the future, right? So right here, Cutler, he actually had a really interesting thing that saying that this IT army actually represents what cyber war will actually look like, and I 100% agree with that. I think that this whole guerrilla cyber warfare technique that we're seeing from the IT army is definitely going to be the thing of the future. You know, I think a lot of us also were expecting that the Russians were going to unleash their elite hacking units, all these APT units, and we have seen some of them. I don't think that they haven't been there, but I think a lot of people in the community expect to see a little bit more of a cyber force from Russia than what we're
Well,
currently
yeah,
seeing.
they have been there, but they have been focusing on the territory of Ukraine. So they haven't been
Yeah,
active
but
outside of Ukraine
we're
yet.
not we're not seeing massive power outages. We're not seeing infrastructure compromise like we did in the past conflicts
Well,
with
yeah,
dark energy and all of those.
but we had an impact on the energy, the attack from Sandworm, on the energy companies.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like you're not seeing massive like widespread power outages. You're not seeing this massive control and dominance from the Russians that we've seen
Oh,
before in Ukraine. It's almost as if the
sorry.
Ukrainian officials and the Ukrainian cyber have been learning from their lessons in the last few years and have a little bit more of a cyber defense mechanism kind of put in place to prevent some of these things. Or the other answer is that the Russian APTs were not exactly 100% prepared for this invasion. They had not been able to do pretext and reconnaissance before this. So a lot of interesting things out there as far as what we were expecting to see and what we're seeing. But I definitely think it's accurate what he says that what Cutler says is that this represents what cyber war will actually look like in the future. A couple other little things is like what we
Ukraine
were talking
calling,
about.
so we need to we need to be careful what we're saying. No, it's
Excuse.
check Ukraine calling on my phone. My phone that was calling, that was Ukraine.
Are we in trouble?
I don't know. Maybe. No, I don't think so. Go ahead. Continue, but be
Maybe.
careful.
Mm,
Maybe.
Maybe that's who's DDoSing us. I
Uh,
don't know. I seem to have lag over here, so I'm like, I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe someone's
it
mad and they're
keeps calling.
DDoSing the chat. Or
Now it's unknown. So
if you're trying to get in contact with us this way, it's not a good. Just come in the chat and tell us what we
yeah,
did wrong.
Telegram. Telegram is my thing. If you want to contact us,
Yeah.
Telegram.
But it was interesting. So like even other Ukrainian officials said, in my opinion, it would be wrong for the government to endorse this type of activity, meaning the IT army. So I think a lot of government officials around the world understand that they've kind of opened a box that they can't close anymore, right? Everybody's kind of looking into creating cyber armies and getting involved as far as guerrilla warfare goes around cyber conflict and physical conflict. So definitely something to look forward to with other conflicts, and something we'll speak about in a few other slides here. But there's this group CyberKnow that has been tracking many of the different war groups that are involved in the Ukrainian Russian. So next slide.
Yep.
Sorry, I can't control it. Sorry that don't have the best graphic here, but if you actually go to the CyberKnow blog or their Twitter account, you're going to find that they're constantly updating this chart with different groups that are coming into the war. Now, as we
And
said, like
leaving,
Network
yeah.
Battalion 625 has left, but it is a very up-to-date tracker of the different types of hacktivists and patriotic groups that are involved in the current conflict.
Yeah, we already.
So I'm just making sure we're not in trouble.
Checking emails. No, it's okay. Nothing is exploding yet.
As long as we're all okay. So there's this other article that the Record put out asking basically, are DDoS attacks cheap thrills for Ukraine? And it's kind of like a brutal answer here is, what is it? This is a great one. A few tickets Russians buy online, the less money goes to state budget for financing the war in Ukraine, which is kind of silly. Like, all right, you're launching an attack against a movie theater and people can't go see a movie. That money's really not going to the war machine. I mean, it's going to fund the movie theater, the services and things like that
It's
involved.
far-fetched if you have to say, well, hey, the state gets less money because you don't go to the movie. They are privatized in
Yeah,
Russia as well, so they might lose a little bit of taxes, but hey, we're talking what, $1 per ticket maybe? That's not gonna fund the missile, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's
Oh, and
some of
by the way, who released the movie or whose movie is coming out soon? I found this by accident, but there's a Ukrainian movie coming out in, I think it was 24th of August, about a Ukrainian sniper that goes after a Russian sniper in the Donbass region after he killed his family, with Ukrainian director, Ukrainian actors. So there's that.
they're fast on that. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I
really
mean,
fast.
they're filming it right as the war is going on. It's
Z
almost like they had the
Zelensky was not part
cameras
of the
ready.
cast. Oh, I have to be careful what I say because otherwise my phone will start ringing again.
Yeah.
No more freewheeling.
So yeah, anyways, the IT army has been making some really kind of dramatic and emotionally compromised type of statements, saying that if we DDoS movie theaters, they can't fund the war in Ukraine, which is kind of crazy and out there. But also, as I said, the creator of Liberator Disbalancer has been very vocal in the last few weeks, saying that you can suspend a service for a day, but it will not give a long-term result. So, like, literally, here's the guy that creates your weapon sitting here saying, like, yeah, it's great, you can knock something down, but there's no result coming from it, which feeds into one of these reasons why patriotic hackers and hacktivists might be cycling out of the Ukrainian-Russian war, is because that DDoS attacks really don't solve anything. You know, there's these emotionally compromised hackers that come running in, beating their chest, thinking that they're solving something or they're involved in something and they're going to accomplish something, and then they realize weeks later that, hey, I'm spending my resources, I'm actually committing a crime, and nothing is actually being done. Maybe I should just kind of walk away before, being
Yeah.
too far. As far as foreigners go that are involved in the cyber legions, other people that are actually inside the conflict might be a little bit more devout to launching the attacks. But it's kind of interesting seeing him saying that DDoS attacks actually don't have a long-term result, and also him saying that he's lost about 50% of the attackers on his network. It just kind of shows and demonstrates that there is a loss of interest on launching DDoS attacks against this certain situation. It's also another thing that we'll talk about in the slide
Yeah,
a little
so
farther forward.
so maybe a volunteer army with volunteers outside of the war may have a good impact at the beginning, but in the long term might not be sustainable.
All those kids got to go back to school at some point.
Yeah. Oh, this guy.
All right, I'm gonna start here, and if I get too crazy, then Pascal's gonna have to take over.
Yeah, I will already start watching my phone for when it starts ringing.
Maybe he was calling, knowing.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
he used to work for the Secret Service. Who knows?
yeah.
Anyways, a Ukrainian ethical hacker is teaching kids basically how to be unethical, which is kind of interesting. I mean, we've had box mining, we've had all these other people out there telling you to get involved and why you should get involved. But this one's a very interesting situation because this guy, 31 years old, used to be Secret Service or worked for a company founded by the Secret Service of Ukraine, SBU. Recently launched a YouTube channel teaching about information security and digital literacy, but because of the conflict, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, he's now teaching people how to launch guerrilla cyber war. He's created a website called HackYourMom, and it's kind of interesting because you go to it and he doesn't really explicitly say like attack Russia, but in all the examples, it is attacking Russia.
Well, yeah, he also has some content that matches one-to-one with the attack tools and the tutorials that are on the website of IT Army. So
Yeah, so he's got like lessons on this website teaching people how to actually launch DDoS attacks and how to hack Russian cameras and IP devices. Like I said, he doesn't encourage people necessarily to hack Russia, but he encourages everyone to put their practice and their knowledge into practice. And if you go to his website and look at what knowledge into practice it is, it's knocking down Russian sites, which is interesting. You know, like I have this statement, and I'll just say it here, like these people want to be ethical, and I get that there's something that's happening, but this is very unethical to teach people how to launch these attacks and do it in an illegal way, right? So, you know, to like the whole CISSP and certification and being legitimate, like how do you move forward? Like how do you get recertified when you support these kind of criminal activities as far as launching DDoS attacks? And I'll just leave it there, but something that we need to think about in the community as far as who we're supporting, who we're giving attention to. I would not call this person an ethical hacker.
now,
I
yeah,
would
but look,
definitely.
luckily hacking Russian cameras are only in Russia, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's a joke in the United States hacking behind the red curtain is completely legal, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
but
not.
it's yeah. But the cameras that are over there, I'm pretty sure that's the same cameras that I'm using and that everybody in the US is using. So hacking Russian cameras, yeah, they're all
Yeah,
Chinese anyway. They're all produced in China. So
so back to the topic of like the impact of the IT army and future conflicts as far as what cyber warfare and guerrilla warfare will look like in the future. Here is the beginning of it, and I'll say it's the beginning of it. I don't know if anybody wants to put their name on it, but the IT army is setting an example that many more will follow in the future. And here we are. The South Korean president vows to establish a cyber warfare reserve unit of over 100,000 people. You know, like here we go. Everybody has seen the example. They've seen how well it works. You know, get your local citizens, get people
yeah,
around the world that buy into your
every IT
geopolitical
person,
situation.
yeah, every IT person is a potential weapon or
Yeah,
potential
I mean,
part of your army.
if your if your country is not building an IT army at this point, I wonder what they're doing. You know, at this point, every country should probably be working on building a volunteer militia cyber army or reserve system like this in South Korea, where everybody's basically given a file like, hey, when we go to war, please click on this, turn your computer into a botnet, and let us use your resources to
Yeah,
attack our enemy. Genius.
yeah. Well,
It's
yeah.
guerrilla warfare 101.
Well, governments already have those apps, yeah, those alerting apps and government website apps. They can just build a module
Mm-hmm.
into that and just leverage the people.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But so other examples that we're seeing of cyber conflict around the world.
Is
Uh,
it this one? Yeah.
DDoS attacks in Taiwan. Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
it's something I called at the beginning of the year. I said that there's going to be conflict in both Ukraine and Taiwan, and both these places were going to likely be annexed or reunified or whatever the word that they want to use. So in the United States, Nancy Pelosi, our House Speaker, decided that she was going to go on a tour in Asia, and a lot of people here in the United States think that she's picking a fight, but she showed up in Taiwan, which I think is the first time that we've had an elected official go there since
25 years.
1996. Yeah, absolutely insane. her arrival was kept very much a secret until like the moment that she took off, and people were watching flight
Sky
radar, which was
scanner,
really
yeah,
interesting. Like
flight
it said,
radar.
flight radar was the first victim of the China-Taiwan situation, which is funny, but it's not really true because it wasn't a cyber attack. But so many people were watching SPAC 19, which is the name of her plane, on flight radar tracker, that the website actually could not take the traffic, and they had intermittent issues and service degradation because of it. But as soon as she turned north and started headed towards Taiwan, we began to start seeing all kinds of cyber activity happen. Now, I think a lot of people on this day were very fearful of February 24th when the Russians invaded Ukraine, because the Russians leveraged, IoT botnets like Katana. They leveraged Hacktivists and script kiddies launch attacks. They launched DDoS attacks. They took down satellite networks. There was definitely the cyber presence pre-invasion. So she's flying in, the National Defense Ministry, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the presidential website, the Taiwan airport, all experienced DDoS attacks. At the same time, there's also a couple of other interesting hacks that were going on. 7-Elevens across Taiwan had their in-store displays allegedly defaced with the statement said, "Warmonger Pelosi, get out of Taiwan." So one of the things that was interesting about this buildup right here is that there was no national level disruption. I'm sorry if you can. I jumped ahead real quick on that, but if we can go back one
They want
slide
to go back. Yeah.
to yeah. So Kintech put out these charts, right? And what we can see is that there's actually no national disruption in Taiwan. And so one of the things I want to talk about here is typically the Chinese government has one of the biggest hand cannons out there as far as DDoS attacks go, right? There was no national disruption, so it was kind of like in the back of everybody's head, like there's no way this is the Chinese government. This was likely the hands of pro-Chinese hacktivists. Now, if they're in China or not, that's another thing to be said. But these attacks were definitely for China against Pelosi's arrival against Taiwan. And as you can see, that there was no national disruption, but at like the presidential website and the airport, there's a massive spike in activity, which was just enough to take them offline, but not enough to disrupt the whole country.
Yeah, could be hacktivist, but could also be false flag, right?
Right, exactly. Woo, I got control now.
It's against my policy, but I gave you control. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to remember not to move my mouse around because I'm ADHD and I'm going to start just moving. Anyways, there's other attacks that also happened during this, other than just like the defacement in the 7-Elevens and DDoS attacks. Anonymous defaced the Chinese Society of Scientific Community Federation website. I'm sorry, that's a mouthful there. So a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce that. I'm literally going to butcher that. Anonymous decided to launch attacks against China as a result of these DDoS attacks from, let's just say, pro-Chinese hacktivists. They deface this website, and it's really interesting because it's a very long deface. Generally, with defaces from hacktivists, it's very short. It's right there at the top. This one, you scroll on. I mean, they have a 17-page PDF document. There's all kinds of stuff, but mainly it's full of jokes, pro Taiwan statements and memes. So like Taiwan #1 is a reference to a online e-gamer that was harassing a Chinese e-gamer. And he kept saying that in the game as a way to frustrate him. So there are many memes and many statements throughout this whole thing, but it shows a growing interest in OpChina. There's a lot of people inside of Anonymous right now that are talking about launching OpChina. And if that is anything to compare to Op Russia, it's something to note because with Russia invading Ukraine, Russia has seen a lot, has actually pretty much caused Anonymous to come back to the threat landscape and start launching attacks against Russia. So it is
Albeit
expected.
very fragmented. They don't have any central control, so they're all a little bit. It's a lot of chaos, in my opinion.
Exactly, but at the level I was speaking at is like, if China and Taiwan situation escalates, China can definitely expect to have a huge threat posed to them by Anonymous. So like if this continues to go, we could probably see almost a mirrored situation that we see in the Ukraine-Russian conflict, where you'll probably have nationalized cyber foreign legions. Hacktivists are launching attacks against both sides. just something to note.
The
Just
revolution
if
of the
you're in the
people.
age, what's that?
Said the revolution of the people.
Yeah, definitely is going to be an interesting situation as we move through the second half of the year. If there's going to be two cyber conflicts going on at once, or if one will end and another one will escalate, or if, hopefully they will both de-escalate. We all can live a happy life on the internet.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see how fast they're on top of it. They already start to make threats and already start to join.
Yeah, it's. I think we all know that it's going to happen, but just word to the wise, what's happening in Russia and Ukraine is probably going to happen in China and Taiwan. So prepare.
Well, what's for sure is for a country that goes at war, it's an extra factor to take into account.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's going to be an interesting situation, but it's not the only conflict that's going on right now. If we go over to the Middle East, something that we've been covering quite often, DragonForce Malaysia is still very, very active over there. They released an LPE exploit on their forum. Their forum is very active. If you have a chance to go over and check it out, I highly advise it. They have a special section where they're actually training users on the forum how to actually leverage current exploits. They're teaching them how to actually build scripts. They're launching DDoS attacks. I haven't personally seen anything like this in a long time as far as like training and educating and knowledge transfer.
Yeah, they're
And this is
very
one thing that
professional for
DragonForce.
yeah for a group that is voluntary. It's very professional. That's just one of the
Yeah,
most organized, and it's growing fast. And they also do community activities like esports gaming. They have tokens.
yeah, and
You can buy cookies.
they have cookies. I was gonna say their bakery shop and everything. It's pretty amazing what they have going over there. But they also expressed a desire last month, July, that they want to engage in ransomware. So that's something to look out for. They are a serious threat group that has the potential to learn and evolve. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Question is, yeah. Question is, are they gonna leverage ransomware to fund their operations, or are they gonna use ransomware to install wipers and attack the targets of their hacktivist campaigns? Because it could spill over to a worldwide problem if they do it for funding their organization. Anyone can be a target. If it is just to get their point across, they might not go or driven by money, financially driven, but mostly to destroy. So wipers, which is also much worse than a simple defacement. A defacement, you only have to delete the index file and that's it. It's only a single file typically that is defacement, but if it's a wiper that comes into your company, you might face a bigger threat there. If hacktivists really go into that direction, it's gonna get scary.
But DragonForce Malaysia has their bake sale going on, so they've got tons of money going.
Yeah.
I'm serious. If you're on their forum and you go look at their cookies for sale, they look really good. I'll vouch for that.
Yeah. Still didn't order
Yeah, so
them, no?
yeah, I wish they'd send me some cookies, man. I would definitely advertise their store a little bit more often if they did.
Oh, but they're probably listening, so if they hear it, give your address. They will send
So,
it to you.
I don't know about that. They're a pretty serious threat group. Like I might give my address to Anonymous and I might get a T-shirt or a coffee mug, but you give your address to these guys and they actually might run ship. So another threat group in Israel. This is going to be kind of like a popular subject for a few slides here. Mysterious Team. So Mysterious Team is this breakout team based in India. Now, mind you, DragonForce Malaysia is based in Malaysia and pretty much all Malaysian, Indonesian kids. Over here, Mysterious Team is a group of hacktivists based out of Bangladesh. They're operating underneath the hashtags or battle tags Op India, Op Batuk, and Op Israel. Now, it's interesting because Op Batuk is DragonForce Malaysia's campaign. It's their campaign targeting, Israel. So,
Yeah. No, targeting India.
India. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. India.
OpSpedil is Israel. So that's the new OpIsrael is called OpSpedil and OpSpedil. What is the second wave? There was also a
Yeah, I
Reloaded.
mean, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of OpIsrael tags. So there's OpsBadil, there's OpsIsrael, and there's OpsIsrael.
Yeah.
So OpIsrael is usually like in the April time zone. Ops
Oh,
Badil is
same.
this new kind of free floating one, and then OpIsrael is just also a free floating
Mm.
operation. Um, so yeah, this group basically has been mysterious team has decided that they're going to start targeting Israel. Same kind of justifications that Anonymous and all the other hacktivists do. Human rights issues between Palestine and Israel. Anyways, they're launching DDoS attacks. They're quickly posting up that they've taken it down, but if you actually go check the website, it comes back up within like 5 minutes. So they're launching like semi-successful attacks. I would say they're not able to hold them down. They're not holding the targets down. They're there basically just to get check hosts to say that the target's down, and then they're done. They're moving on. So they're looking for attention. They're not actually looking to cause any impact, which is like the huge separation with hacktivists, right?
Mhm.
You're either holding people down and causing an issue, or you're looking for attention by your actions. And this group, I believe, is looking for attention. They're not actually looking to hold a target down.
And they have
All right.
Anonymous on their
Yeah.
yeah.
Very,
So
very. I mean, if you
DragonForce
want
is
to get into
better
the
in
interesting side
designing.
of it,
DragonForce has much better designs, much more work put into it. They didn't put a lot of work in it.
right? But like, there's interesting parallels. Is like this group is actually doing graphic work as far as making their announcements. And the funny thing is, they're from India. They're from Bangladesh. They're running with Patuk, which is
Mhm.
DragonForce Malaysia's
Mhm.
operation against India. So just it's weird little lines there, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of overlap and unity, but also at the same time,
Or copycat.
maybe yeah, copycats, people in India that want to associate with the group in Malaysia, but definitely not as advanced as DragonForce Malaysia, and definitely not as capable as a group either. Um, Other events that have happened in Israel, ALtahrea, I think that's how it's pronounced. They've been launching a series of DDoS attacks against Israel. Basically, I think we covered this actually the last time as well. The NTA Metropolitan Transit System was targeted, which is a train system they're building in Tel Aviv, but it's not functional yet. They targeted the Tel Aviv municipality websites. They're targeting information sector, the information technology sector. So InfoSec firms that are working in Israel, as well as Israeli health minister. This group is actually very capable. They are actually launching DDoS attacks. They are making some claims. They are somewhat offensive in some of their posts that they have, but they have been shown to prove that they can actually launch attacks and hold sites down.
And also very
That is
open with open
what's that?
Telegram. They're also open, so with an open Telegram, so pretty much anyone can join in.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see what they say and the things they post there, as always. But in comparison to this other group, GoSec Mafia, JTSec, there's a lot of people that fall underneath this. I call it the fake it till you make it group, because they're definitely out there looking for attention. But unlike Mysterious Team, I don't think they understand what they're doing, and they're not really capable of launching a DDoS attack. And the reason for that is about 30 days after there was an explosion in a Russian power station, the group claimed that their ICS attack took it out.
Yeah, they said the
So
same
I don't.
about Israel as well. There was this fire in Israel,
Mhm.
and they
Yeah,
also
yeah.
tried to claim it. They're all over the map. And not why go to Russia and then also Israel and typically.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So that they're getting involved in all the drama. They're following Op Russia, they're
Yeah.
following Op Israel, and they're trying to get the attention. But the problem is like when you claim that you hacked a power station, it blew up 30 days after the fact, and when you post up target lists in Israel that are not being attacked, you kind of have to ask like what the
Yeah.
group is doing. I mean, this group is very, very active as far as posting target lists in Israel, but those target lists that they're posting are not being attacked. So, what is the point of them doing the reconnaissance and putting that up if they're not having the ability to follow through? Well, it's likely because they're just putting it out for attention. They want someone else to attack it, so they can post claim to it.
Yeah.
So fake it till you make it. um, So this is where we wanted to talk about as far as like the actual Russian APTs. involved in the
That
Russian-Ukraine
was an
war. Like I
interesting
said
one.
before, there hasn't been much activity, but there has been activity. So Google tag researchers observed Turla, which is a Russian APT group associated to the Russian FSB. They were hosting Android apps on a spoof domain for the Ukrainian Azov regiment. I hope I said that right. Anyways, it was a fake app disguised to actually launch DDoS attacks against Russian sites, which was pretty interesting. It was distributed by third-party links in different chats, or by links in third-party chats. And this was also the first known instance of Turla distributing Android-based malware.
Yeah, so what the malware actually did is when a user downloads this malware, he thinks that this is an application that will attack Russian websites. And there are actually, when you go into the malware themselves, the researcher found that there were links to Russian websites and there were effectively connections to Russian websites, but it was not flooding them. It was doing a single connection. So a single connection is actually enough to signal and to gather. The other thing that it did was gathering information on the host. So it's more like a intelligence service trying to find out who's trying to attack them. So anyone who downloads this app, which looks like a game, and the IT army actually already did that, right? They had their gamification of DDoS attacks as a tactic that they used to get people around the world to join that game, and every time that you play the game, automatically your web browser in the background was attacking Russian targets. Well, they now leverage that technique and build an application that says it will attack Russian targets, but actually is not attacking Russian targets. It's actually signaling your information to their website so that the Russian intelligence can find out who's trying to attack them, which might be dangerous depending on how much you use it, and you might become actually somebody who they start tracking as somebody who's trying to do war against Russia.
Yeah, and also we've seen other tracking instances where the Russian government has hacked and compromised local networks, and they've been able to look at who's been launching attacks and who's involved in different cyber groups. So that it's kind of like the issue there. If you do get involved in a cyber foreign legion, you live in the area of conflict.
Oh
If your
yeah.
region is
Yeah.
compromised, your location might be
Yeah, this one guy,
exposed.
yeah, this one guy that was picked up in Crimea, he had that tool on his laptop, and they actually found out, and they arrested him and took him to Russia. Probably gonna face prison in Russia. So it's really dangerous
Man,
to.
I would hate to have to break rocks with rocks in the gulag because I launched a DDoS attack. Like I'd be so mad. Like there's other
The
things to go
Gulag
to
is out
jail
of
for, but
business as far as I know. So it
I'm just making
it's
a
only
joke.
in
But like, yeah, like
it's
if you
it's only in the game house, guys. Not Battlefield is the other one. Black Ops, the game
yeah, I think so.
where you get
Yeah.
sent to the Gulag.
So it definitely interesting to see that the Russian APTs are active and they are exploring new ventures too, which
Yeah.
is something to say as far as what future conflicts might look like as well. Say the U.S. government starts a cyber army for some unknown conflict. Who is giving you the DDoS tools, right? Like something that we need to actually look at, and
Mhm.
that becomes another risk and another thing that you need to patch
Yeah.
in the future as far as like your country's security perspective goes. Is that who is distributing attack tools that are not approved by you?
Yeah, and
Good.
who says that the attack tools are really what they are? They can be a counter-offensive. Like this
Yeah,
balancer, for example, if tomorrow there's another YouTube video that goes out where somebody calls up, hey, there's this new tool from Ukraine, everybody needs to install it to perform attacks. Come on, join it in and disable your antivirus. Just install it. Might be a tool that's written by Russian nation states or even Russian actors or malware. It's like phishing, right?
yeah, and let's be
It's
honest. Most of these people that are involved in these cyber legions and launching attacks have no clue about cybersecurity. I mean, they're told by some of these people to actually disable their security features on their computer before installing it.
yeah.
So, I mean, very, very vulnerable group to begin with, but it's kind of cool. I guess that's a bad word to say. It's kind of interesting to see Russian groups targeting that sector. Um, So for,
Oh,
I guess, more government stuff. Yeah, I know it's been one of those years. Confronting reality is cyberspace, foreign policy in
that
the
was a
fragmented internet.
really interesting report. It matches pretty much
I
with what we have been saying for a long time.
if you're concerned about the next 10 years of the internet, I highly suggest you take a time today and read this report. It is definitely a sobering analysis of what the future is going to look like. And like Pascal said, we truly believe that this is moving in an era where the global internet is coming to an end, where the fragmented internet is going to become a reality. Some people like to call it splinternet. But you can start to see a little bit of the seasoning of it happening with the Taiwan Chinese situation, Ukraine, Russia, and other actions in the Middle East, and as well as in Western United States and in Europe as well.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to dive too deep into it. Like it gets very doom and gloom, but
yeah, but
it's about
this group was a think tank for the government, right? And their assessment toward the government contained one quote that really not disturbed me, but impressed is also not the right word. I cannot find the right word, but it basically said that the open and free internet was a great aspiration during the first 10 years of the internet. But now the government need to face reality and see that a open and free internet is just not gonna be able to continue to be sustained. So that means that
and
like you already see in China, that you put a fence around your internet. Russia has also done it. Russia also has their fence around their internet. They can disconnect their part of the internet completely from the other internet. RUNET, the same for China. And outgoing traffic is filtered, incoming traffic can be filtered. So I think that that's what Splinternet is talking about. We're going into islands that are connected by policies, and that's the end of the open and free internet. Question is, what will be the next? We already have a darknet, so it might be an encrypted layer on top of that, with proxies.
well, I kind of look at it. The darknet will likely be the middle net. That you'll have your fragmented internets where everybody's kind of forced to stay in their bubble, but those that understand how to break through will end up going to what we call the Tor network, the Onion network, whatever you want to call it. But we might end up
anonymous proxies. The anonymous proxies will only gain interaction.
Yeah, but then the question is, as fragmented internet comes around, what do ISPs do as far as blocking traffic and people actually proxying out? And it's
yeah.
We
don't know where. We cannot predict the future, but it's the open and free internet as we knew it is at risk.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. It's a very sobering report, but I highly recommend it. To more scary news.
Well, for US, people in EMEA don't care.
They might care one day. Where's that fire coming from? Oh, it looks like the colonies have burnt. The United States is preparing for midterm elections, as we know. There's a lot of issues inside the United States when it comes down to politics. Very split, very contested. FBI and NSA are warning of evolving foreign interference ahead of the elections. And what they're basically stating is that it is possible that our enemies might use an unremarkable cyber incident to sow panic. So it is possible that we might see an attack that we've never contemplated before. We might see some kind of information psyop type of attack. But anyways, at the end of it, it's going to sow panic. I think we already have the pretext for panic because the domino voting system was found to be vulnerable. Both sides are claiming that the elections are hacked when they don't win. Both sides of the government are claiming the election's hacked when they lose. So it's almost like the game is set perfectly for the United States to have an election compromise to prove a side right. Also, the Cyber Command had come out and said that they've conducted 50 hunt forward, which was a word that we talked about in the last presentation as well, about countering foreign interference in our elections. So that's 50 hunt forward operations since 2018, which I don't know if that's a lot or not, but
sounds like enough pretext to shut down the internet in America during the election.
Yeah, so We'll leave the government and the war stuff behind us and move on to the second half of our
Celebration,
presentation.
yeah.
Yeah, halfway there.
We have an
So celebrating
anniversary,
20.
yeah.
Yeah, we should. Cheers.
Yeah,
I don't know
sorry.
if I can do that. Cheers.
But the
Hold the
heaviest I have is
logo.
a coffee with me, so running on
Yeah,
coffee
it's
and
early
water.
here, so
Yeah.
I'm on Red Bull, and
It's late here, but
but
not late
we
enough.
don't know what's in this coffee. We don't know. It's probably
I,
Red Bull though, because
Irish coffee, right?
yeah, I don't know if Red Bull's gonna get mad that I keep saying Red Bull and pushing this up, but celebrating 20 years of DDoS
We're
attacks. This is kind
sponsored
of
by
a
Red
fun
Bull,
one.
by the way, yeah.
Not really,
Yeah.
but
But we're open
I
to
will
it.
continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to the sponsorship, but I will continue buying your product no matter what. So this is kind of cool, right? Celebrating 20 years of DDoS attacks. If you're a big DDoS person like Pascal and I, you like the history and you like all that fun stuff. So in 2002, man, I was in high school then. It was a long time ago. A DDoS attack was launched against 7 of the 13 root servers. So if you're familiar with root servers, they're pretty much the backbone of the internet. There's mirrored servers that are all over the world now to help relay the internet, but it's the core 13 servers of the internet. One of the things that I want to talk about is like, what do the attacks look like 20 years later? And the attack specifically there is 20 years ago is still a mystery, right? So like, I just want to pretext that and say like, no one knows who launched this attack back then. No one claimed it. These are kind of common themes that we still see today. But the attacker took down 7 servers, caused 2 to degrade over an hour. They say that there was no major impact on the internet, but the attack was
Yeah,
what
how
50.
many users had the internet?
Dude, I'm trying to think. Like I was probably like still on
Well, yeah.
AOL, AIM back
Yeah,
then.
with
Like there was no
dial-up.
MySpace.
That was still dial-up time, no?
Going to
So,
Blockbuster to get my AOL
so
discs.
how can you cause a major impact if not most of the population is not even looking at the internet?
Very true. But also the attack vectors were still some of the same that we still see today. ICMP,
Yeah.
TCP SYN, TCP frag. Nothing's really changed, right? We have these
But
record-breaking attacks. No
the
one
the
claims them.
protocols are still the same. We're still running on the same
Yeah.
protocol, so what do you expect?
Yeah. But you know, I make all these jokes because I want to go to like DDoS attacks today. Like
Uh,
DDoS attacks are getting bigger, but is there still an impact? And you know, just like the attack from 20 years ago, we're seeing record-breaking attacks today that no one claims, that nothing is impacted, that there's no outages. So like, I as more things change, everything stays the same, right? And nothing has really changed in that category. It's just more or less people found DDoS is reliable for 20 years to continue using. But anyways, most of the DDoS attacks that we see today that are record breaking are less than 60 seconds. The attacks, as I said, are not successful and are completely mitigated. And also no one is claiming responsibility for these attacks.
the only thing that's changed is that they're faster and larger, which is in line with what happened with our internet connection, right?
Yeah, and also as other people say, like these larger, bigger attacks are very obvious to see coming down and are very easy to mitigate. I often say, if you're going to launch an attack, be a sniper, don't be a bomb. You know, like everybody knows and sees and can detect it. If you're wearing a ghillie suit hiding a mile away, no one can see it coming, right? Least packets as possible. So yeah, I just wanted to cover like the last 20 years of DDoS attacks, and also wanted to show what the decade-old tools are looking like. So I wrote a blog last year, if decade-old DDoS tools like Hoik Loik, slow alerts were still relevant. At that time, I wrote that they were still relevant, but they weren't used as much as they used to be 10 years ago. That was mainly because of the advancements in mitigation technology. But this was really kind of interesting when I was talking to Pascal in the first quarter of this year. Hey, Pascal, what does the Hoik Loik statistics look like? Very surprising.
Yeah, absolutely
It's
surprising.
yeah, you know, it backs up the statement that Anonymous is back. It backs up the statement that hacktivists have returned to the threat landscape.
Hmm.
And it also shows that they brought the same old playbook
Yeah.
with them, that they are literally
And
bringing
that
out
they're
these.
losing interest.
Yeah, that too, is that they're losing massive interest in the Q2. And that was something that was reflected through the IT Army and Disbalancer. that they've lost 50% of their attackers, and you look here,
it's pretty much in
pretty
line.
much fair. Yeah, so I think there's something to say about looking at this on multiple topics, but Hoik, Loik, Hulk, yeah, slow lores. These are tools that are never going to go away. These are tools that someone can quickly say to the masses,
Well,
download this, launch this tool.
to be fair, these statistics include so packets that looked like what came out of Hoik, Hulk, Loik, and Slow Lords. It doesn't mean that they downloaded the code from ever years ago. It might be a new tool, but just leveraging the same technique, the same patterns, the same data inside the payload. So just copy paste it into another tool, maybe.
Right, like Pascal was saying, like Hulk is over 10 years old, right? So there's been a lot of script kiddies out there that have made new variants. They've changed the print script.
Make
They've
it
added new
mobile,
refers.
add it to a
Yeah,
JavaScript to inject it into a website, things like that.
but in principle, they're still decade-old tools because these were things that are not new. They were discovered back then when they were released. They have a release date. And one of the things also is that these tools died out about 2015, 2016 when Bashlight and Mirai source code came around, because at that point in time, the only way to really kind of launch a coordinated, powerful DDoS attack was to get a group of people together to use these tools to launch an attack at the same coordinated time. The stuff that we see with IT Army. But when Bashlight and Mirai came out, everybody wanted to move to building their own IoT botnets that they could singly launch a DDoS attack with. But the problem with that is that there was a step in education, skill, and knowledge, right? And most of the people washed out. They were not able to build out their own botnets, and they kind of left the landscape. That was another reason why Anonymous kind of fell apart in 2016. Is they failed to evolve to the next threat level. They stayed there, and we wrote about it for many, many years about how Anonymous tapered out and they weren't able to continue. But here we are in 2022, and Anonymous is literally out there again using the old tools. So something to look at. As I said, these tools are really not effective, but if you're an unprotected asset in a region of the world that all of a sudden becomes thrown into the fire, it doesn't matter. You're going to be taken out by it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun stuff to look at there. I really like that graph. It's a fun one. So into botnet
Yeah, you should write a new blog.
I might have one. I might have one that's ready to go.
I think it's good content. Go for it.
Yeah. I've been threatening this blog for like 3 or 4 weeks now.
Let me take note on that.
Yeah, he's gonna put it into my calendar right now. So 8200 gang, this was a group that was exposed by Sentinel-1. I think Talos had also reported about it years before. But the interesting thing about this is that the group has recently seen an explosive growth in building its botnet. Like one of the things I talked about in the last slide was that how everybody moved to IoT botnets in 2016, 17, after it became very, very known. Now what we're seeing a migration from IoT devices to cloud-based devices. IoT devices are always on, they give you a lot of resources, but what gives you more resources?
Well,
cloud.
Wherever there's free resources, they're decentralized, nobody's monitoring them, and the security sucks. Bingo. That was IoT a couple of years ago. It's cloud today. Everybody's moving to the cloud without knowing the impact and the implications and losing control over all their meta and permissions and all other kinds of meta infrastructures and data that they have to keep track of. It's
pretty interesting. So this group actually expanded its botnet from just a few thousand compromised hosts to 30,000. They're leveraging the IRC botnet known as Pwn rig, which is a cryptocurrency mining rig. It's interesting though that this group is
using
believed to be Chinese.
Yeah,
no, really.
Talk about the old days, right?
Yeah. As the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Yeah. Like, let's just go back to the IRC botnet days. The group is believed to be Chinese-speaking threat actors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in China. And they're targeting Docker, Confluence, Apache WebLogic, and Redis, which is pretty much the most popular ones that are being targeted at the moment. So
yeah, with also the ones with recent vulnerabilities and API issues, and we will talk about Confluence, hard-coded passwords.
Yeah, we got a lot coming up in the second half when it comes down to that. A couple internet outages here. Rogers Internet Service Provider up in Canada, they experienced a catastrophe of an
Beaver
outage.
attack.
What's that?
Beaver attack.
Yeah, hey, it happens up in Canada.
Was not a beaver this time. Okay. No,
No, this
last session we
this was
talked about this beaver who actually attacked and took down the internet.
very, very legitimate threat in Northern America.
Yeah.
If you have exposed fiber cables, a beaver can definitely knock it. We
Or
call it a
you
DDoS
put the
attack.
fiber cable on a pole high in the air, and the beaver just chews through the pole, and the pole falls over, and the cable snaps. Yeah.
It's unbelievable how animals can actually knock out the internet. And
Wireshark. Yeah.
there's actually other things that can also knock out the internet that we'll get to in the next slide. But this one was a dev oops. It was a coding error that caused
Yeah.
a huge cascading event across the whole country. It disrupted cell phones, it disrupted internet service for over 24 hours. So a lot of people were left in the dark. Interesting little facts that came out about it. So there was 4 emergency alerts that were failed to deliver. In the digital world that we live in with E911 and all of their stuff, 3 tornado alerts couldn't go out, which I hope that if you're in that area, you can at least see the tornado. The other one dangerous person, you can't necessarily see those. So that's one that's kind of like a little bit more scary for me. If you're in downtown, there's something going on, active shooter, and you can't get the alert. That's where it becomes a really big issue, especially here in the United States with active shooters.
That is
But
the scary part, right? We just said that the internet, as we knew it, might be the end of it, and we've pretty much modernized everything, and modernizing means putting it on the internet. If you buy a new appliance, what's new about the appliance? It's connected. It's smart. No, it's not smart. Sorry, it's pretty stupid, but it's connected. So
yeah, I mean,
we've put everything on that internet, and whenever there's something's happening, well, yeah, services don't work anymore.
yeah,
That's
and
bad.
also their intact debit system was also impacted. And then this one was kind of funny. Had to include this. The singer performer The Weeknd had to postpone his concert at the Rogers Center because people couldn't get into the actual center because of their
Ticketing,
e-tickets.
yeah.
Yeah, and this is something I actually have a lot of pain for, right? So in 2018, I was at the Olympic opening ceremony in Korea and was not able
That
to
was
get into the
attacked.
opening ceremony because the Russians launched an attack and knocked out the internet, and we couldn't scan our smartphone tickets. So there's a lot of like issues that happen with just normal outages, right? Like you have alerts that can't go out, you have performers that can't perform because people can't come into the stadium. It's kind of reckless how much we put online and how dependent we are on it. But there's no way anything bad could happen, right? Like there's no way like maybe a sun could knock out the internet.
No, the sun is too far.
Never gonna happen.
Did you
So
see me
this is
sweating here all the time? So yeah, it's hot in Europe, very hot, and also in UK.
yeah. Yeah, it was a very hot one for you guys this month. So there was a heat wave that swept all across Europe, specifically as Pascal said in the UK, and it was responsible for knocking out Oracle Cloud Service system. So people ask, how does this happen? Well, what happened is that during that heat wave, there was a mass amount of stress that was put on the cooling system, and the cooling system failed in the South UK data center, which led to an outage of many services inside the data center. And it's something that's kind of interesting that brings up a concern as we move into the future as everything's connected, and global warming is a real threat that we talk about almost every day. How are we going to cool these data centers in the future when we don't have energy or we're in energy crises?
Not only global warming, because right now, with the war and the sanctions that we try to put on Russia in terms of gas and buying gas, there are some new guidelines from the government in countries like Spain, Italy, Greece, where it's sneakingly hot right now. It's like very hot there. The hotels and public places have to stop their air conditionings to save energy, so that in the winter we would have enough energy to survive the winter. So that's the place that we're in right now. Every country need to look at reducing 50% of energy usage across Europe. That's the guideline from Europe. So
yeah.
So if you turn off the cooling, what you gonna do with the data center? Gonna turn off parts of the data center? Maybe no more internet. So instead of car-free days to save petrol, it will be internet-free days on Sunday to save electricity. Well, you're joking, but maybe that's the solution. It's like having every month An internet-free day Sunday.
Or you know, as I made the joke, you could destroy the cloud. You could bring all your solutions back on-prem, and then you can put all your employees inside your on-prem data center that has AC.
Yeah,
The 2 for 1.
isn't it kind of funny that the cloud is actually supposed to block the sun? Clouds are between the
Oh
sun and
man.
us, no?
It's very interesting. Like we joke about this, but
Yeah,
it's a
but
very serious
it's a
threat.
serious threat, yeah.
With energy crisis and energy conflict and global warming, we have to really stop and think about how we're going to cool these data centers to prevent outages. You know,
We have to
DDoS is
stop and
one
think
thing, but
about many things, but yeah, that's one of them.
yeah, sun attack is a whole new one.
I guess crypto mining will be out of the question now.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and electric cars. It's going to be a disaster in the future. It's going to be really interesting to see how that gets turned around. So in the other DDoS attacks, but these are a little bit more fun, non-geopolitical,
Yeah.
have to do with gaming, pissed off teenagers. So I'm not really familiar with this game, but I guess it's an online VR MMORPG game. It's a role play game. It's online. Anyways, the creators wanted to reduce the servers to create a healthier population, but it turned out the users did not want to be forced to be together. They liked all of the space, and they've now started launching DDoS attacks against actual gaming servers.
We all know that. Yeah, we're gonna shrink down the company to make it healthier for our users. Yeah, right. Less
It's just kind of
servers,
interesting.
healthier for users. Yeah, okay. Try to explain that.
We're going to take our population, we're putting half of the current servers that we have,
Yeah,
and nothing will go wrong.
yeah.
Uh,
And then you're DDoS attacked. Surprise, surprise. What's the first tool they're gonna go to, right?
it's very interesting to see that. Like games and DDoS attacks is always like an upset gamer, but like the reason why they've launched the attack is very,
The revolution of the people.
yeah, it's very petty sometimes, right? Like you forced us to be together, we're DDoSing everybody.
Yeah. Well, at least they're forming a community. They're all DDoSing together. Well,
Yeah,
maybe it was
yeah.
only one guy, but if it's a group that DDoS, well, good on you. You created a new community. They all think
Zenith
alike.
IT Army.
Yeah. So we're gonna see more Dragon Forces and community.
Yeah, that's the point. They have e-gaming and DDoS in the same group.
Oh, if PUBG ever reduces servers, they're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Because DragonForce is on PUBG playing e-games. So esports is PUBG. So PUBG, if you're listening, don't reduce those servers, especially not in
And
India. You're gonna feel.
could you imagine writing a threat report about having a hacktivist group move to a different game? Like, oh no, DragonForce Malaysia is playing PUBG now. Be careful, developers.
Yeah, they moved to Fortnite. Better up the number of servers, or
Oh man. So there's been a couple other attacks. There's Final Fantasy 14 that was DDoS at the beginning of July, going into the 4th of July weekend break. You know, of course, a lot of kids had to be upset about that. But also 2 days ago, there was a renewed attack on Final Fantasy 14. All these attacks are singling out basically the North American player. So
yeah,
it's only North American
geographically
players,
only in North America. Yeah.
which I don't know why that is. There's not a lot of people claiming these attacks anymore. So, disgruntled user or someone that is literally trying to pick on hey, you know, Killnet could claim this. They could be like, hey, we're trying to upset those Final Fantasy 14 users so they can't send more high Mars rockets to Ukraine.
Yeah, well, the thing is, actually, so with those groups like Killnet and IT Army, they have open forums. Anyone can go in that forum and suggest a target. So if I'm unhappy with a game, let's say that Roblox did something and banned my son for some reason, I could go to Killnet and say, hey, Killnet, you know that teenagers in Europe and America, they love Roblox, and they really go crazy if they cannot play for 1 week. Here are the IP addresses and URLs, and I do this as an anonymous user. They might pick it up and actually start attacking that. So
Yeah.
you can
If we're
leverage
talking about
those legions against for your own benefit.
if we're talking about ideas for IT armies and stuff like that, I suggest them look into NLP mirroring. Just duplicate what your enemy is doing until they notice it, and
Yeah.
it'll probably really upset them. Free advice, nothing here. This is an interesting one. Everything is a negotiation.
Yeah.
Always remember that. Negotiate first. A criminal, let's just call him, let's start with, he started as a criminal, uh, launched this attack
Ethical
against
hacker,
Ukraine
yeah.
finance.
Like
Yeah,
hack your mom, yeah.
he's ethical until he's unethical.
Yeah.
Hacker stole, was it 69,422 SOL, and about 6 million USDC, which was worth about $9 million at the time. Very, very huge compromise, very huge hijacking. So this was started as a criminal thing. Cream Finance was able to source the hacker via gas. So they would track the hacker
The
via the
gas
gas
fees.
sources,
Gas
and
fees.
they sent this criminal an on-chain message offering them a bounty versus facing legal fees. Through days of negotiation, what ended up happening is that Cream Finance allowed them to keep $1.6 million as a bounty and return the rest of the money to Cream Finance, which they will no longer face criminal charges because the money was returned. But
Oh yeah,
this is a
they have
crazy.
agreed, yeah, they made a deal, so it means that the ones who did the attack, they're free to go. They have their money, they just have to pay their taxes. They're off the hook. Nobody will come after them. So
Yeah, I mean, I was making a joke with Pascal about this the other day that this hacker probably walked away with more clean money because of the
yeah.
negotiation than they would have if they had to launder $9 million of
But
stolen crypto.
clean and usable money because they can use it everywhere they want. Nobody will ever be able to say, "Hey, that money was stolen." No, it's part. It's a deal. It was negotiated, so that's a bounty that he got. The only people who can come after him are the IRS. So if he
Yeah,
pays his taxes for it, he can buy whatever he wants. If he goes out with the stolen money and then somebody finds out that this money traces back to stolen souls or whatever, yeah, he's right. So it's much more difficult to use that money. But now he just has clean, nice, good, old American dollars that he can spend at
yeah.
whatever he wants.
And if this hacker is American and goes to the IRS, they could probably expect about $700,000 in clean cash. It's about a 50% wash with the government.
Uh-huh.
But
But
could
still,
probably walk away with
uh,
a decent amount of money for sure.
uh,
Um, this is another really great one. So a HackerOne employee stole bug reports. This is a common fear that a lot of people have had going through the COVID and remote hiring thing. HackerOne discovered after a customer reported suspicious disclosure that one of its new hires had abused its platform over a 2-month period, and the rogue worker had stolen and collected about seven bug bounties. Now, what was happening is apparently this rogue worker was collecting the bug bounties and was middlemaning it, was attempting to get a financial compensation by disclosing it to the customers, or other bug bounty programs. But this is very interesting though, at
yeah,
least from a different
it's try.
perspective, is that
Go ahead.
hiring new hires and remote employees through COVID, right? It's been everybody's fear, and here it is that people are literally taking jobs to be malicious. The first 2 months, you don't even wait past your 60-day on period before you start committing crime. That's crazy, right? And this is some of the things that we've seen with other threat groups and other national APTs, as far as looking for jobs to get in to cause malicious activity from day one.
Yeah, the hack goes actually two ways. It's a reflective situation because we did not put in that hack, but there was also this hack where how was it called again? It was also crypto that was hacked through an employee who was negotiating with a company that didn't exist, but all fake stuff. It was North Korea actually, the North Koreans that were behind it. So what they did is they set up a company and they were negotiating with that employee of this crypto exchange to give him a job. And they made him an offer he could not refuse. So they were negotiating, and then they sent a file a Word file that was actually the final offer, but he already knew that it was an amazing offer, so he could not. So he was so excited. He opened it, and boom, he was hacked, backdoored. They got into the system. They stole money. So it's like when you hire employees, remote employees, new hires. Yeah, you don't know who it is, who's behind it. Same thing when you're negotiating with a company where you want to go work, can also be a malicious one that is leveraging you to get into the company. So it's like
Yep.
it's a crazy world. There's nothing. Just stay where you are. Sit tight. Don't do anything. Don't click anything. It's like
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and just if you're hiring remote employees in the future, definitely consider putting extra eye on those employees with
yeah.
the amount of crime and malicious activity that's going on, especially with the recession and everything else. People are hurting for money and they'll do crazy things in those situations. So always something to kind of consider. This is an interesting one here, kind
They
of
are all
in my
interesting,
backyard
Daniel.
here. Yeah, I guess, yeah, all 40 some odd slides are interesting.
Yeah, we have been
You
saying
know,
that every slide. This is an interesting one. Oh, and this is an interesting one. But
I,
of course,
I'm
you
just,
have put it there, so we know, Daniel. If you put it there,
it's a
it's
drink.
interesting.
It's for a drinking game. Every time I say interesting, someone takes a shot
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah, we have to do that. Yeah. Next one, shots.
Yeah.
When it's less
So,
hot in Europe and the sun is not trying to break down my office and stop my computer from streaming.
the sun is currently trying to DDoS Pascal.
Yeah.
The DOJ sees ransom payment. These ransom payments were made by healthcare facilities here in Colorado and also in Kansas. This was an interesting. Fudge. I'm gonna keep saying this now.
It was interesting,
um,
Daniel. I know.
yeah. Anyways, the Malware ransomware group was a group that wasn't really spoken about inside the cyber community. It was a group that was actually disclosed by DHS and CISA. Maui ransomware group is associated with North Korean hackers, and the way that the U.S. government was able to recover this money is because the money was sent to a laundering service that was known in China. So the money was intercepted and returned to these groups. But a better story about returning ransom payments is over in someone else's backyard here. This is kind of a cool one because they made a ransom payment in distress 3 years ago, and it was a 40,000 euro ransom payment by a college. The Dutch police were able to actually recover the coins and return the coins back to the university, but due to the rise in Bitcoin's price, the college saw an actual windfall of 500,000 euros, which the college has now announced that they're going to use that extra funds to help struggling students. But this is an interesting one. As we have to say, I have to move my head. This is not financial advice.
Yeah. We have to say that because Box Miner also did that, and he said, "I can tell you everything, but I cannot give you real investment advice." So, for us also, here's how to make money, but it's not real investment advice. So
I don't know about now.
next time you
Bitcoin's
have a
tumbling a lot.
ransomware, next time you have a ransomware, don't pay them and expect to make a gain out of it, right?
I wonder how many people that made ransom payments 3, 5, 10, whatever, or not 10, it was 3 or 5 years ago, are sitting around hoping that the
Yeah,
police are able to return those coins so they can see more money. And then
just pay the IRS
here,
when that happens.
always pay the RS. There's no joke. Pay them their money; they'll come for you. Here we have a situation where a Romanian man was accused of distributing malware and was actually extradited to the United States. This gentleman was associated with the Ghazi gang. He was running the bulletproof hosting server for the group, and he was arrested in Colombia. And he has since been extradited to the United States, where he's facing charges. Little background: Ghazi was discovered in 2007. It had infected 40,000 computers in the United States. So this is like a form-grabbing piece of malware designed to steal personal banking information. The author of the malware has been arrested, and now they're kind of just going through and picking off other people in the organization. And he's the latest one to get picked up, but he's over here now. He's definitely been a bad boy. So mystery slides here.
Yeah, over to the vulnerabilities. Uh, It's kind of an interesting one, I have to say.
Mhm.
Interesting, Daniel.
I'm never gonna live this down. Like someone's gonna call me from marketing after this. And like, do you
Yeah.
know you said interesting 342
Yeah.
times? I'm like, oh, it
So,
happens.
yeah, we already spoke about Confluence being leveraged by what was the botnet again? It was the 8220 gang. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So Confluence is one of those popular applications, and apparently somebody found out. It just came on Twitter. It was just released on Twitter. Somebody said, "Oh, I found hard-coded credentials in an application called Questions for Confluence." And yeah, it's pretty obvious to find them as well, because if you look at the jar file, so jar is the Java archive, so that's like the module that you put in a directory and then you like add the application, you can load it dynamically. But if you just go, jar is just a zip archive, so you can see the files with zip, and then whenever you decompile the classes that are in there, and Java can easily be decompiled because it's bytecode. So and you don't even have to do it, because one of the files was a properties files, like a settings, and you go into those properties, and there you see that predefined username, disabled system user, with a predefined user password and a clear text password. And that user, whenever the app is installed, that app will create that user called disabled system user with that fixed hard-coded password, and that account can then be used to facilitate the migration of data between the app and the Confluence cloud. So that means that there's now everybody who installed that app has that disabled user with a hard-coded password, and that user gets added to the Confluence users group. So that means that anybody who has access with that user to your Confluence has read and write access, unrestricted access to the pages under that Confluence. So that means basically everybody who knows that password can get to any Confluence server and get access to the pages and leverage them for any use that they want. And yeah, unsurprisingly, after that was published, Atlassian scrambled to fix it as soon as possible. So there's a page how to fix it and how to install the app, and it automatically deletes the user. So there is a fix out there available, but yeah, not everybody will have the fix yet. Not everybody will know about the vulnerability impacting their servers. So there's a lot of scanning out there in the wild, and attackers are known or have been seen spotted to be executing ransomware attacks through it. It's an easy one, unfortunately, hard-coded password. So
They're a popular target too.
as as I said, IoT, cloud is the new IoT. Hard-coded passwords, where did we see it first? Routers, right?
Yep. Bashlight,
Oh,
Mirai.
I'm doing the same thing to myself that I did to you.
Yep,
Uh,
it happens.
yeah, at the same time, Atlassian jumped on the, well, not jumped, but took the opportunity to also fix a pair of other critical vulnerabilities, but those have not been seen in the wild. Now, that said, they are not unimportant, because it's authentication bypass for third-party applications and first-party applications, allows remote unauthenticated users to execute arbitrary JavaScript code, and also cross-origin resource sharing. So for crafted HTTP requests to be able to execute and do malicious things. Why were they not exploited? I think because, yeah, the first one is much more easier. It's just a username and a password. Why would I go through the trouble to exploit these vulnerabilities if those that did not install the fixes for these ones is still vulnerable for a hard-coded password? So the way of the least resistance, or least
Yep.
investment. Another interesting one, Daniel.
Uh,
Sorry,
Interesting
I
because
will stop it. Yeah, I will stop it. I can
no,
burst.
no, it's actually funny because we got to run the number up now.
Uh,
If someone's actually playing the drinking game, like we're gonna put them down.
uh.
Very interesting, isn't it?
Oh, that guy is long gone. I saw him. I saw the user count shrink away. So
I thought that was interesting.
icon bursts. The detective eye reversing labs. Nothing new, actually. But still interesting. But nothing new. It's again the same tactic. It's the Node package manager, so the Node.js JavaScript programming language. You know, you have that store, that registry with all the modules, and that's the actual reason why developers are attracted to a certain language is because of the ecosystem, all the modules that are written by the open source community that can be leveraged and that allow you to code much faster because you don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. And it's free, it's out there, and you have access to the source code. And it's secure because everybody can read the source code. Of course, nobody ever reads the source code. And that's where it goes wrong. And some people make typos. So that's where typo squatting was invented. So instead of using a name like Umbrella GS, they use Umbrella KS. The K is right next to the J on your keyboard. So if you type wrongly, or if you get a link and you accept the link, or you do a search of the package and you select the package, but you don't see that it's like a special character that's being used and it's listed before the real package, you might install a package with a name that looks very much like the real package that you're looking for, but actually you're installing a malicious package. So Reversing Lab found dozens of malicious NPM modules out there that contained obfuscated JavaScript code. And yeah, towards my comment, nobody reads the code. Obfuscated code is not, you're not able to read it actually. Now, obfuscated, you can deobfuscate it, of course, but the idea is to go to actually evade automated detection tools that will grab and see that something strange is happening in that code. So they obfuscate it in 1, 2, or 3 multiple layers. But you still can do deobfuscation if you really want to read or know what it does. But it will take some work and some time. Now, the interesting part is that those modules were not benign. They were actually, so they were performing collection of data using jQuery AJAX function. So jQuery is one of those famous templates that is being not platforms that is being used to make dynamic web pages, and AJAX is that protocol that exchanges information on dynamic web pages and also single page applications to asynchronously send data and bring data into a application so that you don't see a page reload, that it's look like you are loading one page and then whenever you click on next table, it will load the data of the table and you only see the content of the table change. That's an asynchronous call through AJAX. Now what they did with their module actually collect all that information that is posted from a form through AJAX. So that's pretty much what how are they called again? The guys who steal financial credit cards. Oh damn, I forgot.
Carters? Or are you talking about like a group
Yeah,
specifically?
MageCart. Sorry, MageCart.
Mac,
Yeah.
yeah, Mage card.
So the same technique. So they basically are scraping variables that are entered in forms, submission forms, which could be credit card information and typically can be very sensitive information. And as they collect that information, they exfiltrate it and send it to malicious domains, so servers posted to servers that are controlled by malicious authors. And that was found in dozens of different malicious modules, and some of them were dating back to December 2021. So that has been going on for more than a year and a half almost before it was detected. So typo squatted, obfuscated code, and collecting information, yeah, so this apparently impacted hundreds of downstream desktop applications and websites, because Node.js can be used for a desktop application, can also be used for a web front end, and can be used as a mobile application if you have a single web page, you know, not really the one that you install, but you go to the web page and you can make a shortcut and it acts and behaves as an application, and you can even use it offline as a persistent web application, PWA. Those are using those techniques, those jQuery calls and those AJAX calls, and yeah, and you can use those modules from Node.js to build those applications. It's pretty popular, so I think it's an important one. Surprised it did not make more news though.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
I gotta have jokes, man.
Uh, with that, we're at the end of the session. It took us again 1 hour and 40 minutes to get through it. Um,
Pretty
thank
on
you.
par.
Yeah. So next time, yeah, we will announce where we will be back. Will be either the last Thursday of the month, or maybe nothing happens in the threat landscape and we don't have enough content and we need to push it back 1 week to the beginning of September. We will see. But stay tuned and look forward to seeing you again. Daniel, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Same. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you have the time, click the like, click on the subscribe. I always have to say that at the beginning, but I always forget it. Subscribe to the newsletter, come to our Telegram. If you have questions in the chat, this chat or our Telegram chat, even better because you get it in real time. We monitor that one much more. Okay, thank you very much.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.